We will finish the Kalevala today, starting from Runo number 45, and we'll move on to cover the rest of the Runos. This is still 45 through 49 is still part of the last Väinämöinen cycle, and number 50 is the Marjatta cycle, where Väinämöinen leaves. So we'll bring this epic into its end, but there are still some adventures and hurdles for Väinämöinen and his buddies to jump over, mainly Väinämöinen, Ilmarinen and the Kalevala people to jump over before the epic finishes. So where we left it last time was where the Kalevala people, Väinämöinen, Ilmarinen, Lemminkäinen, they won the battle on the sea against Louhi, the Pohjola people, and they came home. The Sampo got broken. It went to the lake, to the sea, but what Louhi got was just a little of it. But when the Kalevala people went back home, they were able to salvage some parts of it, and those parts they were churning rye for the Kalevala people, so they were doing okay again. And of course, word of it that went to Louhi. Louhi is furious because she had lost the Sampo, even though she didn't, ever keep her end of the promises that she was given. But she is really furious, and she hears that the Väinöland is doing well. Louhi, mistress of Northland, got wind of the news that Väinöland was thriving, Kalevala flourishing. On the Sampo bits, it got the pieces of the bright lid, and she was very envious. Of course, she's envious. So what she is this relatively flat character in the sense that you can pretty much trust her to be mean. Again, not toward her own people, but to the Kalevala people. So we have this long feud between Northland and Kalevala. So Louhi prays to the old man, Ukko. He's up there to help anyone who wants to turn to him. So he's this interesting character that the pagan god, old man, he sides with the Kalevala people, he sides with the Northland people, depending on, I guess, how beautifully people ask. So Louhi prays to him, "O old man, chief god, strike down Kalevala's people with iron hailstones, with steel-tipped needles, or else with disease kill them." So what Louhi got was this deal with the diseases. And there's this metaphorical character, which is a girl from Tuonela, a girl from the land of the dead, blind, and described as the worst of Tuoni's daughters, wickedest of death daughters. The source of all ills, 1,000 downfalls. And this girl becomes pregnant again by wind. Wind makes Death's daughter pregnant, and this is this allegorical girl. She becomes pregnant. She has the birthing pains, and so she's pregnant 4 and 5 months, for 7, 8 months, round about 9 months, and by old wives' reckoning, half of a 10th month. Lönnrot certainly knew how long the human pregnancy lasts, so that was the case also for the Death's daughter, and so this is realistic, but then nothing else about this whole thing is realistic. We have Death's daughter trying to find a place to give birth. But there is no place, but no birth is born, no creatures are created. She is in labor, but nothing is happening. This is a familiar situation. You remember how Väinämöinen was born. Väinämöinen's mother was in giving birth for years. So anyway, here we have Death's daughter trying to give birth and trying to find a place to give birth, and she tries different places and it doesn't work, and then she hears this noise out of a cloud. God spoke, the Creator declared from heaven, there is a shack on a swamp hard by the seashore, there in dark Northland in murky Sarilla. So she goes to the Northland, the pregnant Death's daughter, and that is where Louhi is there to help her give birth to these allegorical figures that are her sons. Now the birth takes place in the sauna. Louhi knows that this is the reply to her prayer against the Kalevala people, and this Death's daughter is going to be giving birth to 9 creatures that are diseases. They're not children, they're diseases. And these diseases are to be sent to the Kalevala people to be a plague for them. And she warms up the sauna. This is an important folkloristic detail, because that's where the births happen in Finland. They have happened like for hundreds of years. Not anymore. People are born in hospitals, but in ancient times. And the sauna is kind of like this sacred place where you are born, you get healed, and if you are ill, and you also are taken when you are dead, so the body is washed there in the sauna. It's a private place for giving birth, for instance, because you have hot water available, you heat up the sauna, and that's what Louhi does, and helps Death's daughter to give birth, and she does. So she produced 9 sons in one summer night, with 1 stir of steam, 1 heating of the sauna, from 1 belly brood, from 1 hard wombful. And she named her sons, got her brats ready, as anyone would her young creatures she has hatched herself. So these don't have people names, they are, in a sense, they're nameless in that way, but this one, the first one, she struck to be Stitch, that one called to be Colic, this she goaded to be Gout, that to be Rickets, this bullied to be a Boil, that screwed up to be a Scab, this to be Cancer she kicked, that she punched to be Plague. So we have Stitch and Colic and Gout and Rickets and Boil and Scab and Cancer and Plague. 1 was left, and that was another nameless one. So these are diseases that she then sends to the Kaleva kin. And Väinöländ's sons sicken, Kaleva's people languish with the wayward diseases whose names are unknown. Beneath them floors rot, above the cover decays. So these were horrible diseases, and they people there suffered from them. Louhi sent them to the Kaleva people. So what does Väinämöinen do? He's the healer, he's the singer, he's the magic guy, and what he does is he warms up the sauna too there in Kalevala, because sauna is also this healing place, and he starts chanting, producing these healing charms. Come now into the steam god, sky father into the warm, to bring about health and to make for peace. Wipe away the holy sparks and the holy ills put out. Beat down wicked steam, bad steam send away, so it will not scald your sons, spoil those you have made. What water I fling, because in the sauna you fling water on the stones of the stove. What water I fling upon these hot stones may change into honey, trickle into mead. May a honeyed river run, a pool of mead splash. And this is the healing charm that he again uses his words to send these illnesses away, to heal his people. And it goes on, he says, ache girl, tuon is made, sitting upon the ache rock where 3 rivers run, where 3 waters part, grinding the ache quern, making Mount Ache turn. Go and gather up the aches in the jaws of the blue rock, and go and gather the aches and take them away. Take them to the middle of the ache hill, the peak of Mount Ache, and there cook the aches in a tiny pan in which 1 finger will go and a thumb will fit. So what happens is he then lastly, again, he turns to God. I can do nothing if my Creator will not allow. May the Creator give help, and may God bring help to one I've seen with my eyes, to one I've laid my hands on, one I've talked to with sweet lips, and I've breathed on with my breath. And where my hands are not laid, may the hands of God be laid. When my fingers don't avail, may the Lord's fingers avail. The Lord's are fair fingers, the Creator's palms nimble. So with this, the chants, the healing chants in the sauna, traditional sauna bath, Väinämöinen is able to heal his people from the diseases that were given birth to by the Death's Daughter, after Louhi had prayed for those diseases to be sent to Kalevala. So steady old Väinämöinen, the everlasting wise man, with that took away jinxes and relieved attacks. He removed curses. He healed victims of ill will. He freed the people from death, Kalevas from being lost. So that turned out nicely. But Louhi is not without her curses. And then in 46, what we get is this etiological myth, etiological being about the origins of how something, origins or causes of how something came to be. And we have already noticed that if you tell the origin of the iron, you can heal a bleeding wound, and if you tell the origins of an animal, you can gain power over that animal. So what Louhi does next, because the diseases didn't work, or they did, but Väinämöinen was able to cure his people from those diseases and send the diseases away. What she does is she took it badly, and she says, I can still think of another way. I know yet a different road. I'll raise a bear from the heath, from the wilds, a hollow hand against Väinäland's livestock, the herd of Kalevala. Remember when Ilmarinen's wife was sending her cows to the pasture? She had this long chant of protection for her animals, for her cows. And cows are very, very important. If a bear comes, that is devastating for the people because they're dependent on the milk of the cows and the meat from the cows as well. So what Louhi does is she wants to send a bear to harass the cows of the Kalevala. And Väinämöinen is ready to deal with this again. So what he does is he goes directly to Ilmarinen. Ilmarinen always needed when something needs to be made out of iron. So he goes and he says, Brother Smith Ilmarinen, forge me a new spear. Forge a spear of 3 edges with a copper shaft. And gives the instructions of what must be showing on the spear. And Ilmarinen does as he is told. He forges the spear for Väinämöinen. And Väinämöinen goes to the forest where he wants to kill the bear. Now what is important about this bear runo is that there are like tons of different ways of referring to the bear because bear is a taboo. So what people need is to not call a bear because it somehow makes it real and scary. But if you use circumlocutions, euphemisms for the bear, just don't call it the bear, then you gain power over it. You kind of flatter it and you can gain power over it. So Väinämöinen goes to the forest, talks to Tapio, the forest god, talks to Mielikki and Tellervo, the women there affiliated with Tapio's family, and asks them to tie your dog up tight and put up your cur in a honeysuckle lane in an oaken frame. So he is ready to go and try to kill this bear, but you don't really say that you're going to kill a bear because that's bad luck. So he continues to flatter the bear. On page 598, my beastie, my matchless one, honeypaw, my handsome one, slump down upon a hummock, upon a fair rock with pines swaying overhead, spruces rustling overhead. There, beast, circle round and round, honeypaw, turn round and round like the grouse upon its nest, the goose on its brood. So then Väinämöinen just goes and kills the bear, and it's not really described that much, but steady old Väinämöinen there killed the beastie, and then he starts this talk. Be thanked, God, be praised alone, Creator, that you gave the beast for my portion, the backwoods gold for my catch. And then he starts talking to the bear. My beastie, my matchless one, honeypaw, my handsome one, don't be angry without cause. Well, the bear has just been killed. It was not I that felled you, so you rolled off the collarbone yourself, toppled off the log, tearing your wooden breeches, splitting your pine coat. So it's this very respectful or respecting way of dealing with the animal that you have just killed. And he takes the bear to his people, to the village, and there they skin the bear. They make like tons and tons of food of its meat, and all this time, through this whole time, Väinämöinen keeps talking very nicely to the dead bear in circumlocutions. So the bear is referred to with these, dozens of different names, but not called a bear. And then the Väinämöinen comes directly to the people there. They come directly to the origins of the bear. Page 605. Where was the beast born? Where did the precious pelt grow? Was he born on straw, or did he grow in the sauna ingul nook? So Väinämöinen tells the origin, the etiology of the bear, and that's how they are getting food. They pull his claws and use his pelt for like clothing and various things. So it's an interesting runo. Because of all this flattery that goes to the bear that has been killed by Väinämöinen. So Väinämöinen starts toward the end of this runo. He starts singing. Remember, he's this singer, and he thanks the god, the pagan gods, what can be construed as the Christian God too, even though this is about pagan times. So the bear has been killed. Louhi wasn't able to use the diseases nor the bear, so she resorts to other mean things to avenge the Kalevala people, because they took the Sampo, they fought her, and she steals the fire, and she steals the sun and the moon. So what happens, and if anyone of you has lived up north, you know how dark the winters may be, and you can barely see the sun for a few hours in the middle of the day, but then the sun kind of like creeps up here just above the horizon and then goes down. So that is what this curse is kind of about. So not only does Louhi take away the moon and the sun, so there's no light, also takes away the fire, which could provide some light, but also provide warmth and a means of fixing food. So that is really, really bad if you lived through the freeze here in February here in East Texas. We know how it is when we don't have light, electricity, and when we don't have warmth. So just a small, tiny example of how life was for the Kalevala people after Louhi stole the sun, stole the moon, and stole the fire. So what does Väinämöinen do? He's going to go and find that fire. So he starts kind of like asking about where did the fire go, and again here we have the origin of where the fire initially, where did it come from? It came from heaven. It came from Thor, and then this little girl got this fire, but the silly girl dropped the fire, the careless girl the flame, and then the fire is eaten by a fish, and it's eaten by another. That fish is eaten by another fish, which is eaten by another fish. And these fish that eat the fire, or a smaller fish that has the fire inside, they get these horrible pains. And what Väinämöinen does is he needs to fish that fire, so it's like fishing for fire. So it's a pike that has the fire inside another fish, which has fire inside a smaller fish. And they send people to try to catch the fish with the fire, and nothing happens. They can't catch it. There's this net or seine weaving, preparing episode, and finally the old Väinämöinen says to Smith Ilmarinen, let us go yonder ourselves and launch with the nets. So they go and they put the nets down, and eventually, not immediately ever, nothing happens immediately with the first try, but you may need a tiny man again, like on page 629. A tiny man rose out of the sea. A fellow came up from the billows. He stands upon the high seas and asks, is there need for one to beat, someone to wield a big stick? So it's beating the nets. So there's a kind of like repeated question. The small man, the puny fellow, asks if, shall I beat with all my strength, properly with might and main, or beat as the tool allows? You remember how in the Kullervo asks this, shall I beat like really, really hard, or shall I row really, really hard, or as much as the tools, the vehicle allows? And Väinämöinen answers very wisely, you beat as the tools allow, unlike what Kullervo ended up doing. So they end up catching this grizzled pike, and it has the fire inside. It's like, the Russian dolls. So they get some help from the son's son, the son of the son. He comes to help, splits the pike, and there they find the pale trout is found. In the pale trout's belly there was a smooth white fish, and then there's a ball, a red ball, a blue ball and a red ball, and there's the fire inside. So what are they going to do with this fire? Of course, it's not going to be simple. Nothing is like, okay, now we have the fire, now we are good to go. The fire escapes and it starts burning the places. It burns Ilmarinen pretty badly, and this is how we get the healing charm. For Ilmarinen needs to be healed, and he himself talks these words, and so we get this fantastic epic, and within the fantastic epic we get folklore, folk wisdom about how to heal a burn, for instance. And so Ilmarinen says what helps on a burn is slush, snow, or ice, or slush snow is really good. And so he says, bring slush from Northland and ice from the cold village. And then at the end he also prays for the old man, O old man, chief god, old man, keeper of the clouds, governor of the vapors. Rear a cloud out of the east, from the west send a cloud mass, push them together, edge on, knock them against each other. Rain slush, rain ice, rain a good ointment on the burn burnt places, overcome my hurt. So Ilmarinen gets better at the end of fishing for fire. Runo, Smith Ilmarinen with that dimmed the fire and calmed the flame down, and he got better, became his old self after fire's harsh hurts. So they have gotten the fire back, and what's Louhi gonna do next? Louhi is going to, she has stolen the fire, they got the fire back, she still has the moon and the sun. So Ilmarinen, what are you gonna do? What is Ilmarinen gonna do? He's gonna, remember he made a golden wife for himself when his wife died. He takes the same approach. Louhi has taken the sun and the moon and has hidden them inside mountains and rocks, and now we don't have sun and moon, so why don't I forge a sun and a moon? And that's what he does on page 637. Smith Ilmarinen uttered a word and spoke thus: I'm working a moon in gold, in silver a sun for heaven's top up yonder, to go on the 6 bright lids. And Väinämöinen is like, ho ho, Smith Ilmarinen, you have been wasting your time. No gold gleams as the moon, nor as the sun does silver shine. And that's what happens. They put these on, Ilmarinen puts them on, on a treetop, and of course, a metal sun, a metal moon don't help when there is no real sun and real moon. So they need to go back to the Northland in order to try to find the sun and the moon from there. So he both went and sped off to dark Northland. He stepped one day, he stepped 2, till by the 3rd day the North's gate appears, the rocky mounds glow. At first he shouted out loud, at that river of Northland, bring a boat here so I can cross the river. So Louhi the mistress hears this, and of course, there's this thing, Louhi's husband's head has been cut off by Lemminkäinen, so Louhi is resorting to her son. And how is Väinämöinen gonna get in? She shifts shapes, becomes a pike, and goes as a pike, and is able. They eventually are able to get the sun. It's in this Runo 49 where Väinämöinen actually resorts to his sword. Remember, he has not been a man of sword. We have read about men who are eager to fight with weapons in the Icelandic sagas, in Beowulf. Väinämöinen has been fighting the Kalevala men. They tend to fight with words. But here Väinämöinen says on page 642, when Louhi sends his men against him, then the old Väinämöinen puts this into words: if the moon does not get out from the rock, nor from the cliff, the sun, let's fight hand to hand, let us take up swords. So finally, eventually he's resorting to his sword, and he manages to, again, not a simple thing, but he eventually, they manage to get the sun and the moon from Louhi's safekeeping. So the moon and the sun are back, and we're ready then to finish Väinämöinen's adventures by reading the last one, The Newborn King. This is the ending of the Kalevala, and and it has it is a story of Marjatta, who becomes pregnant when she goes to the forest to pick berries. So she picks up berries and becomes pregnant, and she is then looking for a place. Again, this is one of the themes, that when a woman is pregnant, a woman needs to find a good place to give birth, and that's typically the sauna. Like for the Death's daughter, Louhi warmed up the sauna, and she wants to give birth in the sauna, but there is no sauna, and so it's time for her to give birth to this child. She was impregnated by a berry. So on page 653, she bore a hard womb, a difficult bellyful, for 7-8 months, for 9 months in all, and by old wives reckoning half of the 10th month. So we have this repeated it's folk knowledge. How long does it take for a baby to be ready to be born? Now in the 10th month, the lass feels a pain. Her womb becomes hard, presses till it hurts. She asked mother for a bath. Oh, my mother, my darling, prepare a place of shelter, a little warm room for a wench's sanctuary, for a woman's room of woe. And mother has learned that Marjatta has become pregnant, not by a man, but she doesn't know. Of course, this is obvious that Marjatta is Mary, Jesus' mother, and this is how we're going to end the entire Kalevala, with the Christianity coming into the pagan Kalevala. So the mother says, Marjatta's own parent says this, "Fie upon you, demon's bitch! Who were you laid by? Was it an unmarried man or else a married fellow?" And Marjatta, nice youngest child, this one answers that it was no unmarried man, nor yet a married fellow. I climbed a hill for berries, and to pick a cowberry, I took a berry I liked. A second time I tasted, and it went down my gullet, then into my belly dropped. I was fulfilled, filled by it, and by it became with child. So the mother blames her. She goes to the father. The father blames her as well. Father brings himself to say, Papa knew how to answer. Go, you whore. Further than that, scarlet woman, further off to the bruin's rocky dens, into the bear's craggy cells. There, you whore, to breed. There, scarlet woman, to teem. So Marjatta tries to explain. She says, I'm not a whore at all, no kind of scarlet woman. I am to have a great man, to bear one of noble birth, who will put down the mighty, vanquish Väinämöinen too. So she knew that this baby she is expecting is something special. And so she's in a tight spot, where to go, which way to turn, and where to ask for a bath. She uttered a word, spoke thus, Piltti, that's like little baby, Piltti, littlest wench of mine, best of my hirelings, go now for a bath in the village, for a sauna at Sedge Ditch, where one sick may get relief, a wench endure her torment. Go quickly, press on, for the need is more pressing. And this is the little girl who Marjatta sends to find a place where she can give birth, in a sauna kind of a place. And the little girl asked, "Who shall I ask for a bath? Who shall I beseech for help?" Our little Marjatta said, she uttered, thus spoke, ask for Herod's bath for the sauna at Saraya's gate. So we have a reference to Herod. Ugly Herod in shirt sleeves eats drinks in the grand manner at the head of the table with only his lawn shirt on. And Herod declared from his meal, snapped, leaning over his cup. Why, what do you say, mean one? Why, wretch, are you rushing about? And then the little girl explains that she needs a place, and so this girl is looking for a place, and meanwhile Marjatta is having more and more contractions. Marjatta, the lowly maid, thereupon burst into tears, and she put this into words. The time comes for me to go, as of old for the gypsy or the hireling serf to go off to the burnt hill to head for a lay of pines. And she ends up going to the forest and has the baby born there. And there's a horse who is told, "Breathe now, O good horse, sign now, O draft foal, and waft some bath steam, send a warm sauna, that sick I may get relief, in anguish I may find help." And the good horse breathed, and the draft foal sighed over the heavy belly, and what the horse breathes is like steam being stirred up, like water tossed on hot stones. So no place for the inn, no sauna to give birth to, but there's this horse that gives its breath like steam to keep her warm. And there she had a little son. She brought forth her baby child on the hay beside the horse at the rough hare's manger end. Strong intertextual connections here, references to the Bible obviously. She washed her little offspring, swathed him in his swaddling cloth, took the boy upon her knees, set the child upon her hem. She concealed her baby boy, she reared her fair one, her little golden apple, her staff of silver. So what happens next is the baby disappears from Marjatta. She has given birth to the baby, and nobody really knows how the baby is going to take over, but people have this hunch that Marjatta has this hunch that that's what's going to happen. So the boy vanishes from Marjatta's lap, just like Jesus went missing at the temple. And of course Marjatta then has to be looking for it. She asks, like we have had so many times before, a woman looking for something, looking for her son, like Lemminkäinen's mother. So Marjatta asks the stars, "Oh star, God's creature, don't you know of my baby, where my little offspring is, my little golden apple?" She asks the moon, "Oh moon, God's creature," and moon says, "If I knew, I would not say. It is he who created me for these days of ill, to keep watch alone of nights, and to go to bed by day." So Marjatta asks the sun, "Oh sun, God's creature, don't you know of my baby, where my little offspring is, my little golden apple?" And so what we then have is Marjatta looking for her son from the swamp, thinking that she may have drowned. But the boy was found on the swamp, and from there he was brought home. Then Almarjatta had a handsome son growing, but no name is known for him, what name to mention him by. Mother called him Little Flower, but strangers said Fly by Night. Now a christener was sought, and a Baptist was looked for. An old man came to christen, Virokannas to baptize. Now Virokannas has pagan connections. Read always if you see this asterisk here in the Boslik translation. Look for the glossary and you get an explanation there. So Virokannas has these pagan connections. He's the old god, reference also to John the Baptist because he came to baptize. So we have these intertextual references here. So Virokannas said, he put this into words, I'll not christen one bewitched, no mean one baptize at all before there's an inquiry, a judgment. He's not going to baptize a baby who was born out of wedlock. Ms. Marjatta doesn't have a husband. So who are we going to ask? We're going to ask the wise man, Väinämöinen, steady old Väinämöinen, the everlasting wise man. He will inquire into this. And Väinämöinen says, the boy was got from a swamp, begot by an earth berry. Let him be put in the earth beside the berry hummock, or be taken to the swamp, hit on the head with a stick. Here we have Väinämöinen saying these horrible words about this little baby, just basically kill the baby. And why is this? Because Väinämöinen knows that this is going to be he will take his job, basically. This new baby is a significant one. Väinämöinen will need to leave and the baby will take over. So what we have here is the pagan world of the Kalevala being replaced by Christianity. Marjatta's little baby Jesus son. Okay? And so the baby is 2 weeks old, and the baby starts speaking to Väinämöinen after Väinämöinen says, "Oh, just take him to the swamp and hit him with a stick." The baby, 2-week-old baby, says, "You wretched old man, you wretched sleepy old man, for you have stupidly judged, laid the law down wrong. For better causes, for still worse deeds, you were not taken to a swamp yourself, hit on the head with a stick, when you as a younger man yielded up your mother's child to save your own skin, to redeem yourself. Nor were you ever, nor yet taken to a swamp when you as a younger man used to dispatch the young maids down below the deep billows upon the black mud." Who is the baby talking about to Väinämöinen? Aino, of course. And so he's first the baby says, "How were you begotten? You tell me that I am illegitimate because I was conceived by a berry. How were you begotten? Your mother was impregnated by foams of waves." And then what you did to Aino would be a good enough reason, justification to kill you. So Väinämöinen was angry. He was angry and ashamed, and he stepped away towards the shore of the sea. And there he started singing, sang for the last time. Sang a copper boat, a coppery covered craft, and he sits down in the stern. He cast off on the clear main, and he uttered as he went, declared as he departed, "Just let the time pass. One day go, another come, and again I'll be needed." This is Akseli Kallela's painting Väinämöinen leaves in a boat. I hope it shows a little better. So there's Väinämöinen as an old man, and here's the boat that he just sang into being. Here we have the Kalevala people. More of the Kalevala people there at the background. There's Marjatta. There's the newborn king. You see the halo, and that is Marjatta's baby who represents the Christianity coming into the pagan Finland. Väinämöinen stepping into a boat, leaving. What does he leave for? His people. See there? He leaves his kantele. He leaves his music as a legacy to his people. He's upset. This is very realistic. It's not like he graciously gives everything up and leaves and gives space for the little baby to take over, Christianity to take over. He's resentful. He's upset. He's angry. But he leaves. So on page 663, he says, I will be needed again, but that's his way of dealing with this situation. I'll be needed, looked for and longed for, to fix a new Sampo, to make a new music, convey a new moon, set free a new sun, when there's no moon, no daylight, and no earthly joy. In a way, he's reciting what he has done, how he has helped the Kalevala people, how he has been this main person there, the leader. And then he goes on to say, then the old Väinämöinen goes full speed ahead in the copper boat, the coppery punt, to where Mother Earth rises and heaven descends. And there he stopped with his craft. With his boat he paused, but he left the kantele behind, the fine music for Finland, for the folk, eternal joy, the great songs for his children. And that's the story. The final lines of the Kalevala take us back to, like in the beginning, this person who started singing these songs is now saying that it's time to finish this story. Now I should shut up and bind my tongue fast, make an end of tale singing, and have done with striking up. Even a horse pants after going a long way, even iron tires after mowing summer hay, even water hauls after rounding river bends, even fire flickers after burning all night long. So why should a bard not be wary, gentle tales not hauled? So he has this long. The bard, the narrator, is now speaking, and the whole story ends with these words by the narrator, the bard. Be that as it may, I've skied a trail for singers, skied a trail, snapped a treetop, lopped off boughs, and shown the way. That is where the way goes now, where a new track leads for more versatile singers, more abundant bards among the youngsters rising, among the people